Emily Rose was an ordinary college student with an extraordinary devotion to her faith. Raised in a deeply religious family, she had always felt a strong connection to her spirituality. Attending a prestigious university, Emily's life seemed to be on track for success until strange occurrences began to disrupt her daily routine. It started with subtle signs, easily dismissed as coincidences or figments of her imagination. Objects would move on their own, shadows seemed to linger a little too long, and whispers echoed in the empty corners of her room. At first, Emily brushed off these occurrences, attributing them to stress or lack of sleep. However, as the phenomena intensified, she could no longer deny the sinister presence lurking around her. Fearing for their daughter's well-being, Emily's parents sought guidance from their local parish. Father Richard Moore, a seasoned priest known for his expertise in spiritual matters, agreed to visit the Rose family home to assess the situation. From the moment he stepped through the threshold, Father Moore sensed a malevolent energy enveloping Emily. The priest conducted a series of prayers and rituals, hoping to rid the young woman of whatever dark force had taken hold of her. But with each attempt to exorcise the entity, Emily's condition only seemed to deteriorate. Her once bright eyes now held a vacant stare, and her body contorted in ways that defied natural laws. Realizing that conventional methods were futile, Father Moore urged the Rose family to seek medical intervention. Reluctantly, they agreed, hoping that modern science could provide answers where faith had failed. Emily was admitted to a nearby hospital, where doctors conducted a battery of tests in an attempt to diagnose her mysterious ailment. However, the medical professionals were baffled by Emily's symptoms. Despite their best efforts, they could find no logical explanation for her rapid decline in health. Meanwhile, Father Moore continued to visit Emily, offering words of comfort and prayers for her recovery. As weeks turned into months, Emily's condition only worsened. She began speaking in tongues, her body racked with convulsions that left her exhausted and frail. Desperate for a solution, Father Moore consulted with fellow clergy members, seeking their advice on how to combat the demonic entity that had taken residence within Emily's soul. But as the days dragged on, it became apparent that Emily's fate was beyond human intervention. The forces of darkness had firmly entrenched themselves within her, defying all attempts at exorcism. Despite the prayers of her loved ones and the efforts of the medical staff, Emily Rose was consumed by the darkness that had claimed her. Amidst the tragedy of Emily Rose's untimely demise, Father Richard Moore found himself facing a different kind of battle. One fought not in the realm of the supernatural, but in the cold, sterile halls of the courtroom. Charged with negligent homicide, Father Moore stood accused of failing to provide Emily with the medical care she so desperately needed. The prosecution argued that the priest's insistence on treating Emily's condition as a spiritual affliction had resulted in her death, robbing her of any chance for a timely recovery. But Father Moore maintained his innocence, steadfast in his belief that Emily's suffering was the result of a demonic possession beyond the realm of medical science. As the trial unfolded, he found himself pitted against a formidable opponent determined to prove his guilt at any cost. The courtroom buzzed with speculation as witnesses took the stand, recounting their experiences with Emily Rose and the events leading up to her tragic demise. The prosecution painted Father Moore as a reckless zealot, blinded by his religious convictions and unwilling to accept the reality of Emily's condition. Yet, despite the mounting evidence against him, Father Moore refused to waver in his defense. With unwavering resolve, he recounted the harrowing ordeal he had witnessed firsthand, describing in vivid detail the sinister forces that had taken hold of Emily's soul. As the trial reached its climax, Father Moore's fate hung in the balance. Would he be vindicated in the eyes of the law, or would he be condemned as a misguided fanatic responsible for the death of a young woman? Only time would tell as the jury deliberated the verdict that would seal his fate for eternity. As the trial commenced, Erin found herself facing off against a formidable prosecution team. They argued fervently that Emily Rose's death was the direct result of neglecting conventional medical treatment in favor of exorcisms. Erin, torn between her skepticism and her duty to defend Father Moore's faith-based actions, braced herself for a battle that would test her beliefs, her legal prowess, and her compassion. In the courtroom, the prosecution painted a damning picture of Father Moore as a misguided zealot who allowed superstition to cloud his judgment, leading to Emily's tragic demise. They presented evidence from medical experts, asserting that Emily's deteriorating health could have been treated effectively with modern medicine. They highlighted instances where Father Moore allegedly ignored signs of Emily's worsening condition, choosing instead to perform exorcisms that only exacerbated her suffering. Erin knew she faced an uphill battle. She couldn't deny the compelling arguments put forth by the prosecution or the heartbreaking reality of Emily's suffering. Yet, she also believed in Father Moore's genuine conviction that Emily was possessed and in need of spiritual intervention. As Erin began her defense, she approached the case with a blend of legal strategy and empathy. She didn't dismiss the medical evidence outright but instead sought to highlight the complexities of Emily's situation. Erin called upon witnesses who could attest to Emily's devout religious beliefs and the profound impact of her spiritual struggles on her mental and physical health. Erin also delved into Father Moore's background, painting a portrait of a compassionate and dedicated priest who genuinely believed he was helping Emily. She emphasized his years of service to the community and his unwavering commitment to his faith. Erin argued that while Father Moore's methods might seem unconventional, they were rooted in a sincere desire to alleviate Emily's suffering and save her soul. Throughout the trial, Erin found herself grappling with her own doubts and uncertainties. She questioned whether she was doing the right thing by defending Father Moore, especially in the face of such compelling evidence against him. Yet, she couldn't ignore the humanity behind the case, the profound tragedy of Emily's death and the complex interplay of faith, science, and the law. As the trial neared its conclusion, Erin delivered her closing arguments with a mixture of conviction and humility. She acknowledged the tragedy of Emily's death and the pain endured by all involved. But she also pleaded for understanding and compassion, urging the jury to consider the depth of Father Moore's faith and the sincerity of his intentions. In the end, the verdict would rest in the hands of the jury, tasked with weighing the evidence presented and determining Father Moore's fate. For Erin, the trial had been a profound journey, a test of her legal skills, her moral compass, and her capacity for empathy. And as she awaited the jury's decision, she couldn't help but wonder what the outcome would mean not just for Father Moore, but for the broader questions of faith, justice, and the human spirit. Erin sat in her dimly lit office, surrounded by stacks of documents and transcripts. Her investigation into Emily's case had led her down a labyrinth of testimonies and medical reports, each shedding light on the mysterious events that had unfolded. As she delved deeper, Erin realized that the truth was far more complex than she had initially imagined. The first witness she interviewed was Dr. Rachel Martinez, a renowned psychiatrist who had evaluated Emily shortly before her exorcism. Dr. Martinez spoke of Emily's erratic behavior and unexplained physical contortions, symptoms that defied medical explanation. Despite her expertise, drive, Martinez confessed that she was at a loss to understand the root cause of Emily's condition. Next, Erin sought the counsel of Father Michael O'Connor, a seasoned exorcist who had assisted Father Moore in Emily's exorcism. Father O'Connor recounted the harrowing ordeal, describing how Emily's voice would change, uttering blasphemies in languages she had never learned. He spoke of the overwhelming sense of evil that seemed to permeate the room during the exorcism, a darkness that threatened to consume them all. But it was Father Richard Moore himself who provided the most chilling testimony. In a series of interviews conducted over several weeks, Father Moore revealed the depth of his conviction that Emily was possessed by a demonic entity. He spoke of the relentless torment inflicted upon Emily's soul, the whispered threats and vile obscenities that emanated from her lips. And yet, amidst the darkness, Father Moore clung to a flicker of hope, believing that through faith and prayer, he could save Emily from damnation. As Erin pieced together the testimonies, she began to discern a pattern emerging. Each witness spoke of a spiritual battle raging within Emily, a battle between forces seen and unseen. But as she delved deeper, Erin realized that there was more to the story than mere possession. There were hints of trauma buried beneath the surface, wounds that had festered and grown in the darkness. Turning her attention to the transcripts of Father Moore's exorcism sessions, Erin sifted through the prayers and incantations, searching for clues that might unlock the mystery. And then, she found it, a fleeting reference to Emily's childhood. A mention of a tragedy that had befallen her family years before. Driven by curiosity, Erin delved into Emily's past, uncovering a history of abuse and neglect that had left deep scars on her psyche. She spoke with Emily's former classmates and teachers, each painting a picture of a troubled young girl haunted by demons of her own making. But amidst the darkness, Erin discovered a glimmer of hope, a memory of a kind-hearted priest who had offered Emily solace in her darkest hour. Father Moore's words echoed in her mind, reminding her of the power of faith and redemption. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Erin resolved to confront the darkness head-on, to uncover the truth behind Emily's possession and, perhaps, to find a way to save her soul. As she closed the case file, Erin felt a sense of determination wash over her. The journey ahead would be fraught with peril, but she knew that she could not turn back. For in the depths of darkness, there lay the possibility of redemption, for Emily, and for herself. And so, with a steely resolve, Erin embarked on the next chapter of her investigation. Ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in her quest for the truth.